This is Andrew Bernstein, also known as Dr. Fashion, and I'm with Faith Ferris. Inversa. It's all about lionfish, carp, pythons, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Invasive species. We've all seen them, certainly in South Florida in the Everglades, and really all around the planet. These species are everywhere. And Inversa is taking a sustainable step forward. They are turning lionfish, carp, and python into natural fibers. Your next bag, your next belt, your next jacket could be from a python, a lionfish, or even carp. Come with us as we talk to the founders of Inversa and look at what they're doing to change the environment, what they're doing with invasive species, and how they are taking these animals and turning them into luxury fashion like we've never seen before. It's exciting, it's impressive, and something you're only going to see on the Look TV. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Look TV. With me today is, of course, Dr. Fashion, and we are also talking with Inversa. Aarav and Henry. Aarav is the co-founder of Inversa, and Henry is the head of development. We are so excited to talk to you guys. This is all about sustainability and doing what we can for the planet. So I'm going to throw it to Henry first. Henry, can you just kind of briefly describe Inversa to those who have not heard of it yet?
Sure. Thank you. It's great to be on the Look, and we're excited to share a little bit more of our story. So Inversa is a materials company that takes invasive species and turns it into high-grade leather for the fashion industry.
Awesome. And Aarav, can you tell me what was your guys' idea behind this? How did it get started?
Yeah, it got started. I mean, mostly we've all been scuba divers. And, scuba diving for 10 years out in the Caribbean, you sort of watch, we got frustrated with just watching what was happening to our coral reefs, what was happening to biodiversity, what was happening with the loss of life and the bleaching that occurs. And we wanted to do something about it. And one of my academic background is in material science, and, brought these two loves together in the form of a gorgeous leather that we offer to the fashion industry. And that's kind of where we got started.
And I know you really started with lionfish, then got into python and carp, all invasive species throughout North America and certainly the Caribbean as well. What brought you to those specific species?
Yeah. As you mentioned, we started with the lionfish and just realized how much the fashion industry and luxury wanted to do something positive for the planet. And yes, it expanded into two other species. We now work with all three. And, what brought us there is we like to work with the worst of the worst invasive species. The ones where they're so pervasive, they're so problematic that even governments, nonprofits, conservation communities, they're all looking for solutions. And ours is we just connect these problems with the fashion industry and their desire to do good, their desire to be positive, their desire to influence good change. And it's the consumer is one of the most scalable, powerful forces on the planet. And when you have a problem as wide and pervasive and dispersed as these established invasions like python, like carp, like lionfish, no one else is up for the challenge outside of the consumer.
Can you tell me, sorry, when you first saw this problem, these species, what did you see that they were doing to, the ocean, the planet? Kind of just tell me, like, what was the problem that they were creating?
Yeah, so these invasive species are those that have been brought from from their native territory into an area where they're not recognized as prey, and their prey species don't recognize them as a threat. And so as a consequence, they're able to proliferate rapidly and effectively outconsume, outcompete, and predate their way into basically overwhelming the very delicate food, the very delicate, pyramid that all these ecosystems sit on top of. And so if you look at lionfish, for example, they overeat and consume 79% of all native fish on any coral reef they touch in an invasive territory. The carp has overconsumed to be about 90% of the biomass of all freshwater ecosystems. And the python has eaten 90 to 99% of all small mammals out of the Everglades wetlands. And so they create such colossal damage. And kind of everyone's for the last 20 years have been saying, we need to do something, we need to do something. And we haven't really known what to do. And until we came around and brought this solution forward, and people have been very excited.
And Henry, what about the marketing? I mean, this is very interesting. We talk about sustainability, we talk about education. How do you get the word out about the marketing and educating people that, I mean, this is all right? I mean, lionfish, I know they are somewhat poisonous and whatever, but you can eat them. They taste like chicken, I think. And obviously the skin, they're so beautiful. But what about the people? Oh, they look beautiful. I don't want to touch them. And, I don't want to hurt, another animal and so forth. But what about the marketing, education to get people to know that it's all right? They are invasive species and you could wear this and you could eat it. How do you get that out to your demographics?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so much of this is about education and about education of invasive species. And one thing we like to talk about is not just being sustainable, which means keeping the status quo, but being regenerative, right? And in this case, it's a great example and model of when you buy a bag made out of lionfish or made out of python leather from the Everglades, that purchase is going towards removing something that is actively harming an ecosystem. Right. And now when we have a bunch of that happening, we're removing something that's actively destroying it. And nature is really, really resilient, and it comes back when you allow it to. So it's doing things like this and really spreading the message, working with our brand partners on those educational pieces, and really empowering the consumer to do something positive for something that's a huge issue. Right. Invasive species can cause 60% of extinctions. They cause $423 billion of damage globally, and global wildlife populations have reduced since 1970 by 69%. It's an enormous issue.
And I think it's great. I know
it's really interesting. Yeah. Like I think part of the most interesting piece around the education and the awareness is that the more these materials our brand partners launch, the more people buy into it, the more they share the story themselves. And frequently in sustainability, it becomes an echo chamber of people saying, we need to be sustainable to other people who are already being sustainable. And the wonderful part about this is that, by just making your regular everyday purchasing decisions, everyone can participate in it. And when you buy into the invasive economy and the invasive, in invasive fashion, you naturally become a participant. You love to, the consumer loves to share that story with their friends and talk about how they're helping the planet, how they're the centerpiece and they're the hero of the story. And we get that story out to millions and millions of people just by doing launches, getting the story out there. And then, it creates this ripple effect.
And I know this is part of we call them the UN sustainability, 17 sustainability goals. And this is the below the sea, which is very important. I know there's some other sustainability goals that certainly Inversa is meeting with all three of these species as well. And I know our students in colleges, universities, and those in education, and certainly in sustainable fashion, certainly being educated in this, it's really important that they know this and can relate to that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the UN has been a strong driver in driving awareness for invasive species, in highlighting these issues, highlighting how biodiversity is fundamentally threatened and how we need solutions like this.
I think the way you guys described it was perfect. Like, the education behind this is super important for people to actually understand what you're doing. Because obviously if you're just coming at this without any knowledge, you might think one way, but really, like, you guys are helping a huge part of, the ocean or wherever the pythons are from. Like, you're helping a large part of nature be sustained and to keep continuing this cycle of life and, all of this stuff. So I like how you guys described it. very easy to understand. And I think in today's world, you really have to like pound that into people's head and be like, hey, like this is helping so many different places within the world, and it's keeping our earth like continuing to live.
Yeah, I think going one step, beyond that, and that's a great point, is that you have to make something beautiful, right? If you make something desirable and beautiful, and you can replace the materials and products with something that doesn't seem like a replacement, right? It only enhances the beauty and the story. I think that's where you can find success, right? Because no one wants to sacrifice quality of anything, right? And so the power of regenerative messaging or sustainable messaging only enhances when you can couple that with a beautiful product. And that's something we're really proud of, that we focused on and come to the market with this great story, but also a really great product.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have these leathers, obviously. Do you guys then go and make products, or do you send, your leathers out to different companies that make the products? What is that?
Yeah, so we're making the materials, and we work with fashion brands, help them with the storytelling, support on the messaging and the education around it. We're not making materials ourselves, but we're empowering brands. We work with about 30 brands right now, about another 50 or so in the pipeline, to create beautiful products themselves, beautiful stories themselves.
That's awesome, because then you're getting people who really, really care about the message and the product, in order to be then taking their time to make these other things with it. It's really like, it seems like it would be a passion of theirs if they were to get behind this as well.
Exactly. It helps us bring a more scalable story to more people and to more and use more material, right? It is so challenging to be a brand just in and of itself. But if we're able to offer a material that any brand can use, whether they're creating $50 SKUs or $50,000 SKUs, any brand can use and integrate and tell that story of positivity, heroism, and empowering the consumer to make put them front and center of this fight. And then that's what this is all about. It's about scaling it over the entire population of the world, because the UN report that we were discussing earlier highlighted that invasive species cause $423 billion of damage all around the planet, which isn't a colossal number. But when you pair that with the $3 to $4 trillion fashion industry, you realize that we stand a chance. We can do something about this.
That's a great chance. As you were telling this story, could you share with our Look viewers, maybe mentioning a few of the specific products? I know you have bags and belts, but maybe generally talk about them, because we're going to be obviously showing some of these products as you are talking to them, belts, bags. So maybe could you describe a few in general for our viewers so they could see the quality, type of bag, belt, articles that you have made and your many different vendors sell?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple that we're extremely happy about and very, very proud of are we just recently announced a new partnership with the Japanese brand Objects.io, part of the Harizuri luxury conglomerate, and they created they just launched it, I think, last week. Created a gorgeous mini bag out of our black python, and it's absolutely stunning, absolutely lovely. And it's been such an attractive and wonderful hit with consumers who are on the other side of the planet celebrating the regenerative story of Florida. And it's really, really happy about that one, because it's first of all, it's just stunning. It's just a beautiful bag, and we can share some photos if helpful, and or maybe even the bag too. But it's just a stunning bag. It tells such a beautiful story, and it shares it. We all inhabit the same planet, and there's such an internationalism around. We're all supporting each other. We're all in the same fight. We all share the same space, the earth, the sea. We're all helping each other. But really happy about that one. And then a little closer to home, we've launched an amazing collection with South Carolina-based Brackish. And Brackish has made these gorgeous lionfish earrings, which is just, they're beautiful. There's this stunning blue on gold, and it just tells the story in such an exciting way. And I really like that one, because Brackish has challenged us in really fascinating ways to push our material to be even thinner, to be, to use it in such unique ways. And I've loved the collection. I've loved working with the team, and the pieces are just gorgeous.
And you do belts as well, I think. I'm not sure if you're doing shoes, but I know you have belts that are out there, and some other beautiful fashion products as well. One great thing to mention about certainly Python, like alligator, crocodile, it lasts forever because of the tough hide. And it's something you're not going to scratch as easily. It's not going to get damaged. You can carry it around. It will last for decades. So it certainly might be costly because, again, the production, everything, but it's something that you're going to have. It's going to look as good 15 years from today as the day it was made. And you can't really get that with cowhide or, so many other different hides. So this is really incredible, saving the environment, sustainable, but it's something that you can have and it's going to look great years from now.
Yes,
one
yes.
cool thing to
It's
add
really
there too is that fish leather is actually really strong. The fibers in the skin are cross-linked or crossed like that, as opposed to being parallel or any other direction. And so it makes a lot stronger leather that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but also lasts very well.
And we don't talk too much about the carp. So could you just briefly tell us a little bit about carp? It's invasive, but how, what some of the products made from, because again, we're seeing lionfish, certainly a python, but carp's a little bit out there. I know it's Asian, but can you tell us a little bit about it? Because I think it's the most mysterious of the three.
Yeah, so it was brought here to the Midwest, USA, as an animal to clean ponds and lakes, and then it did that job and then did it a little bit too well. So it's a super fascinating story. There are actually 4 subspecies that all sort of affect the ecosystem in slightly different ways. They've overgrown and they've outcompeted the native wildlife in the area, and they now constitute about 90% of the biomass. They're a massive, massive problem, and every Midwest state, basically from Michigan all the way down to Mississippi, is freaking out about this, and we're all extremely, extremely concerned about what they're doing to the planet, what they're doing to these ecosystems. With a couple of effects that they do is they will burrow into streams, so they will dislodge, basically turn gorgeous rivers into sludge, affecting water turbidity, affecting water quality. They will outcompete native wildlife for food sources, basically starving the other populations to death. So massive, massive problem. And, bringing it full circle, Andrew, to what you were talking about belts, we have we've launched a belt collection with brand Kleinberg around these these carp belts. And it's, absolutely fantastic. It's been wonderful working with them. And it tells that story right to the, right in the Midwest, right in the heart of the country, where people are very much so concerned. I mean, they will even jump up. These are fish that are famous for jumping out of like the river, and they give people concussions and totally decimate fishing economies and livelihoods. It's it's a super fascinating problem. It's one that I love to get to help address that problem.
I think this is so interesting because, me and Dr. Fashion, we talk about sustainability all the time. But in those words, we talk about, don't do fast fashion, get unique pieces that are important to you and keep a hold of them. But we haven't yet touched on, what also goes into sustainability with different fashions, and that's taking care of the ecosystem. And as a Midwest girl, I never knew about the carp. So if we wouldn't have been talking with you guys today, I would have never have known. I mean, maybe I've heard about a carp problem, but not to the extent that you're explaining it to me. So it's really nice to be able to talk to you both, to kind of just go over and like let our viewers know that there are other problems happening, and you guys, Inversa, is helping eliminate those problems and, keeping it sustainable, and also giving you long-lasting pieces that you're gonna maybe pass down to your children. So no fast fashion here. We're keeping it sustainable, and it's really nice to hear.
Can you tell us a little bit about, I know you have a new project, a runway project that you're just coming out with. can you tell our Look viewers here first on television what the project is? Very exciting, so we all can get behind it and look for it soon.
Yes, yes. So we have launched, and very, very happy about this, our Reef to Runway project, which is all about bringing complete digital end-to-end traceability and provenance tracking to the consumer. I mean, the invasive story is such a powerful one. It's such an interesting one. It's such a compelling one. And we want to bring the story of where your materials come from all the way to the consumer. We want to, and with this, it's just a QR code that you scan when you receive your products or you make your purchase, and you can trace back exactly where that material, whether it's lionfish, python, et cetera, was sourced from, and be able to connect to the ecosystem, be able to connect to the animals that were affected, be able to connect to the ecosystem that you, with your purchase, are actually bringing back to life. We think that's super powerful. That's very, very, yeah.
I think for the consumer and being sustainable and knowing where it's from, it's almost a living label that you would see on the back of your blouse or jacket or pant, and here it is, that you could check that out. I think that's really great. And talk about QR codes and AI and everything. I think it's certainly the new technology to go along with sustainability and what you are looking to do as well. I know Faith and I have a similar question for you. Where is Inversa going for the future? You have such great things happening. What's going to happen in the next couple of years? Are there other invasive species out there that you will be tackling as well? We have these gigantic big green lizards here in South Florida. Will you be, going after them as well, or what? What's going to happen? Who are you tackling? Who are you looking for? What will the Inversa police be looking for in the future?
No comment on next species, but yes, that's very much so top of mind for us of where else can this solution go. So yes, you can expect some new species, and yes, you can expect new brands, new collections, new populations. I mean, this is where fashion's going. Fashion has decided that it wants to be regenerative. It wants to make decisions that bring back environments and ecosystems that are fundamentally beautiful, right? And beauty, that definition is always expanding. It's always becoming more. And provenance and impact is now just part of beauty. And so it's not good enough to be net neutral. It's not good enough to be sustainable. We have to be regenerative. So, I mean, it's just the future of fashion. And so we're really excited to help usher that in, so you can see us in more places, find our brand partners, and participate in net positive fashion in really exciting ways. And yes, we'll have some new species in the next couple of years that'll be fun for everyone to learn about.
That's great. And Faith, can you tell everybody where they're going to be able to find all the information about Inversa and everything, since you are also our social media guru?
Of course. Well, you can always go to our website to find out more, but also head to our social media channels. Guys, can you go ahead and tell us your website and where we can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find us at inversaleathers.com and on Instagram under Inversa Leathers.
Awesome. You guys were absolutely wonderful to talk to. So much education.
Incredible.
Definitely want to tell people to go to their website, check them out, learn, get educated on the matter, and go take a peek at some of the products that they have with their partners.
And in closing, I was going to say lions and tigers and bears, oh my. Now I'm going to say lionfish and carp and python, oh my. Go check out Inversa. So that's our new saying, everybody.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
On behalf of the Look, thank you so much for being here.